Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 418. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, not alongside Johnny V.
No, I'm clearly
Just
dead.
a few hundred miles apart.
The base, how I look with this pasty and camera stuff, you're not dead like me. You're very colorful, Terry.
I mean, you look good. You
No.
look good, Johnny. As good as you could possibly look. How about that?
I don't even think that. I
that
don't
a
give
fair way to
myself
put
too
it?
high regards, but I don't even think I look that good.
All right. Well, either way, welcome, everyone. We are here. It is, of course, the week of Pro Worlds. And as AJ Risley famously said, so, Pro Worlds.
Huh?
We're here. Yeah. Clearly, just such a week that everybody talks about. It's funny that we have so many enormous tournaments and they're getting bigger in the Elite Series and the other majors and everything else. And obviously, they all carry a ton of weight and they're super important. And they all continue to lift in terms of the payouts and the significance and the media, the sponsorships, everything that goes along with it. But at the end of the day, as we all know, you would trade every other accolade, every other title, just to say that you're a world champion. And that's what this week's all about. So we're here. It's Emporia. And we've got two different courses that are obviously in play. None of this is really new to most of you if you follow along whatsoever within the disc golf community. But we're done with day one. And obviously, it only makes sense that we talk about what we saw during day one. And Johnny, you were in a unique situation. Maybe unique's a strong word, but this week you are directing the show on the MPO side. And so that's the afternoon of the men's coverage. And you have the regular team in terms of Mo and Gary and all those guys. But then in the booth on the MPO side, we have Ian Anderson as a host, and we have Brian Earhart and Nate Doss as the color commentators. So that's kind of what your crew looks like. So only because it was more recent this afternoon, why don't we start there with any of your thoughts from, I'll say, from behind the scenes. I'm not as much worried about scores as without getting too into the weeds, give us some overview from behind the scenes today.
Well, into the weeds is what we do, Terry. It's literally what we do. Well, from a control room perspective and a tech perspective, I think things went relatively well. I think we had one little glitch during the show that we were able to, some audio drops that we were able to clear up pretty quick after a commercial break. We just had to kind of restart a system after something crashed. But we're doing something unique in that we have we've got two simultaneous broadcasts going on. And it didn't happen this morning due to some shipping issues that we had. We thought things were going to get shipped out a little quicker than they were. But by this afternoon, we had two broadcasts. We had our normal feature broadcast, where we showed as we always do, we show the top players, people are performing well, a featured card, so to speak. And then we also now have a featured holes broadcast, which is only going to be getting better as the week goes on. We had a couple little glitches with it today, and I think that we will be able to kind of iron those out. But we're able to show just a few key holes. I think this tomorrow, when we're at the country club, you're going to be able to see hole 16, maybe hole 1. I don't know. It's going to be, I don't exactly know what they have planned because I'm not really part of it too much. I'm just doing a little bit of tech work behind the scenes with it. So I'm really excited that they are branching out, and I wanted to talk about it last week, but nothing was finalized for sure. There was a lot of talk behind the scenes, but ultimately we finally got it up and running this afternoon. And I think overall the broadcast went pretty well. I mean, not that you would know, Terry.
Yeah, well, I was out in the field, and of course, anytime Ian and the crew had a question or something, they could call on me. I believe, did we bat 1,000? Did every time they throw to me, I heard it and was able to respond? Can you think of any where that didn't happen?
No, you did. You literally batted 1,000 today, Terry. Congratulations.
So, and I'm not trying to take any credit for that. I'm just saying, naturally, sometimes we're challenged with some technology, and it's a little bit of it's not the perfect solution. And of course, we're continuing to research and develop what will be the perfect or a little bit more robust solution. But I felt like every time I was called upon, I was able to click the button and have it work. And sometimes, honestly, that just isn't the case. But signal wise and everything else, it seemed like things seemed like things were working out. So, real quick, back up because I honestly have no idea.
Sure.
What does that mean when you say there's another? I mean, there's another broadcast. Is that somewhere else they're clicking? Is that something else on the
Yes.
same screen? What exactly does that mean? Just so that I can help promote it even more myself.
Well, the other stream is only exclusively on the Disc Golf Network. So if you're a Disc Golf Network subscriber, you can tune in to, there should be another link out there, just like you're finding the featured broadcast, there should be a featured holes broadcast that you could have up on another screen. If you wanted to dual screen it, and that's just literally going to be, like I said, 2 or 3 different holes. I think Grant Zellner from the PDGA is doing some commentating on it. He's doing a little bit of chatting here and there, which is wonderful because Grant is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And when there's not somebody on one of 2 to 3, I think it's 2 holes. I think they're covering 2 holes. When there's somebody not on 2 holes, it just shows scores. And you can find it out on the Disc Golf Network. It is, I know the Disc Golf Pro Tour is paying a lot of extra money this weekend for all these additional units that we had to rent. So please go out and check it out if you get the chance. I mean, it's Grant Zellner, 2 holes, and hopefully we're going to get some replay on those holes tomorrow. The replay machine had some glitches, and that's actually literally why we were a minute late, because I'm still nailing down some of these replay issues on our spare server that we have. But I think that once we get everything under control, this is going to kind of be the new standard, but for Worlds, MVP, GMC, USDGC, and probably the Pro Tour finale. Don't quote me on all of those, but I think that's the
don't overpromise.
I'm not going to overpromise. Well, I can overpromise all I want because I'm not delivering.
Nothing new there, folks.
That's right.
Yeah, Grant Zellner, 2 holes and replay. That sounds like a good time to me.
That's what I said. I volunteered.
I feel like that's how it should get branded. Grant Zellner, 2 holes and replay. I feel like I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. I know the PDGA might be out there watching. I'm just saying we've got a branding and marketing opportunity here. So, well, that's awesome to hear that it's taking place. Any idea, again, I'm not looking for necessarily any numbers, whether you have them or not, any idea how well it was received? Or maybe we could throw it out to the board if people were finding it, if they were liking it, just kind of the overall feedback to it. I'm guessing more people need to know about it.
It was,
for starters.
It was not advertised very well. And that's, I think, by design. Because
we want to make sure we get the kinks worked out, make sure everything's operational, up and running, looks good, we know what the options are, and then make sure everybody knows about it. Because as you're saying, it's truly a bonus, an additional feature and offering that is coming to everybody. Is that a fair way to put it?
That is 100% a fair way to put it.
Ooh, it looks like we've got some nice spam in the chat too.
Sweet.
Ooh. Those are my people. They heard about my new marketing campaign with Grant Zellner, 2 holes and replay, and next thing you know,
and then they showed up.
Exactly, just like that. All right, all right. So let's talk a little bit about the nitty and the gritty. I don't think that's a thing. The nitty gritty regarding the actual play today. Of course, I was following along with our final feature card of the round, and where we saw who was all on there: Simon Lizotte, Eagle McMahon, Mason Ford. No, I'm
James
mixing
Conrad.
up my 2 cards. Oh yeah, Conrad, the world champion feller.
That world champion feller.
And Matt Oram. Yeah,
Matty.
Yeah. I was mixing up who we saw go off because all 3 of the last cards were quite stacked, as you would expect. Those are feature cards for various post and live, operations, and so no surprise to see how stacked they were. I caught up with Eagle McMahon after the round, and what I can say, we'll start there. Eagle, had a 10 under, and that
he
tied
was the shining
light.
He was the shining light
Yeah,
because the rest of the card kind of sucked.
Yeah, well, okay, that's one way to put it. They didn't perform up to his standards.
No, they sucked. I mean, I think if you ask any of them, honestly, they're going to be like, yeah, we kind of sucked. We didn't play as nearly as well as we wanted to. It was Conrad is at 3 under, which is probably 3 or 4 off the pace that he wants to be at. Who else?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, who else did we say was on that card?
Simon, who shot 1 under. He bogeyed the final hole to get to 1 under.
Yeah, Lazat.
And then Matty O.
Yeah. Matt Oram shot, okay, Oram was okay. He shot a 5 under par. I'll give that. That's a relatively okay round. He didn't struggle, but watching Lazat struggled severely on a couple holes and just flat out didn't perform. And I know it's funny because I listened to your conference on the day prior asking Simon whether or not 1 day of practice was enough. And he kind of he dropped a little nugget in there that he's getting married next week, which I don't think a lot of people knew. And on top of that, saying that, I mean, I know you knew, Terry, but I don't know if a lot of the disc golf community knew that. But just saying he got in late. He only had time for 1 round. So maybe this is affecting him because at 1 under par, I know it's early. I don't know if you can win.
Yeah.
It's a little early.
Someone like Simon. Yeah. Someone like Simon.
He could come out and shoot 2 hot rounds, 2 of the hottest rounds of the weekend and get back in it. But
1 or 2 off. Yeah.
Man, it's tough. It's tough.
I'm not going to get too far into that game, but yeah, I mean, clearly he's got that much steeper of an uphill battle or climb to make compared to some of the other people out there. And speaking of which, someone, I know very much that I was hearing, at least within the broadcast over listening to Brian and Nate and Ian, was that, Paul Macbeth, a lot of people look at Paul and James as kind of the initial 2 storylines, which is very understandable, obviously. And there's plenty of other legitimate contenders, so there's no shade there. But it sounded very much so that, Paul was clearly off to a very slow, I'm not going to call it abysmal, but a very slow start to get things going. And in fact, the number I kept hearing was that he was even through 6 holes.
Yeah.
And you look at a Chris Dickerson who had birdied all of the first 6 holes. I mean, talk about just such a stark contrast and proof, of course, that those holes are all gettable. And but when it was all said and done, I remember hearing Nate say, Paul would almost have to miraculously birdie out, and Paul, I think, got very close to doing just that. And next thing you know, he's 1 off of the lead, and very much not a sub story of the overall day. So pretty impressive.
Paul got off obviously to a slow start, and we kind of stopped paying attention to him a little bit for a few holes. When I jokingly said to Mo, I'm like, don't worry, he's going to birdie the back 9. Because that's what Paul does. He looks like he comes out to a slow start, and then by the end of the round, you look at him and you're like, and all you think is like, oh yeah, I kept watching Paul miss all these putts or have these bad shots or something. And then you look at the end of the round and he's in like 8th place. And he's 2 off the lead or something. And that's kind of what he did here. He's 9 under. He's technically 4 off the lead, depending on how you want to look at it.
No,
I know.
I don't.
Okay. We'll get to that in a second, though, Terry. Yeah, he's technically 1 off of the lead right now in his pool. So
yeah. So real quick, let's touch on that. Sitting at 10 under par, we have Double G, Garrett Gurthie, Aaron Gossage, Eagle McMahon, Anthony Barella, and Vino Macula all shot 10 under par. So they're, of course, set the tone. Set the new high bar, whatever, officially, I guess, setting course record, because it's a new course compared to what we saw at the DDO. I'll give them all that. 10 under is what we see. Interestingly enough, quickly looking at the scores, Double G, Gossage, McMahon, and Vino all had a single bogey in there at some point. So they had 11 birdies, where Barella was bogey-free and shot just a clean 10 under. So interesting to see. And then Corey Ellis, as we know, very much in that conversation because he was having a phenomenal round. He ran into the double bogey hiccup on 17.
We apologize, Corey. I know we sent our cameras out there. Mo kept joking that he's the black cloud of doom because we so often see it that we'll send a camera out to somebody and they just, within a hole or so, they just have a very, very bad time. And that happened to Corey Ellis.
Well, it also, I believe, happened to Zachariah Johnson. I was talking to one of the cameramen, and he's like, yeah, I went out there to get him. First hole I showed up, he was the only bogey he took on the round. And uh, obviously that more often than not is just a sheer coincidence. But sometimes it feels like, as you said, kind of like a black cloud of death that then rolls over your round and over your course or whatever. So rounding out the top 10, again, shooting 9 unders were Macbeth, Ellis, and Zachariah Johnson. And then also rounding out your top 10 with 8 unders, you have Greg Barsby, Nate Sexton, Dylan Horse, Calvin Heimberg, Ezra Robinson, and Chris Dickerson. So 8 under, 8 to 10 under, taking up the, 12 or 13 of the top spots. Clearly super close, competitive, and no one blew away the field by any means today. Although 10 under, setting a really solid and established pace out there for sure. So, congrats to all of them that finished strong and had the good rounds out there.
As I said, shooting the hot round of the day was not even on that pool. We had the B pool playing at Jones.
No,
I'm sorry, at ECC. We were at Jones. Sorry, we're at ECC. I'm looking at the thing, and they're already showing the next round, so I saw Jones MPO. Tristan Tanner out at the Country Club shoots a 13 under, blistering 13 under. And I know it's hard to compare the two, but if you just go by PDGA rating, he shot a 1087 round, besting Double G and everybody that shot a 10 round by 20 points. 20 points. He ousted them. So regardless of what you think as far as what's going on, in my book, Tristan Tanner's in the lead. He has shot the best rated round of the day and clearly the best scoring round. Now, the question is, how is everyone that was at Jones going to do at ECC? How is he going to do when it comes to Jones? We're going to find out after tomorrow, of course. But you can't sleep on Tanner. He's one of the better players in that pool, one of the bigger known names, has a cannon for an arm. And these are the type of courses that will suit him of all players. So again, it's hard to compare apples to apples here because of the two different courses. But in my eyes, Tristan Tanner has the best round of the day and should be considered in first place.
Best round of the day, highest rated round of the day, I'll give him. If you want to consider him first place or not, whatever.
I mean, by that measure, you can't consider. And I'm not trying
to take anything away from him.
By that measure, you can't. If you don't consider him in first place, you can't consider anybody in any position yet because nobody's played all the courses.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's the way I look at it.
All right. Well, either way, phenomenal round, of course, by Tristan Tanner, and without even dialing down, I do remember hearing that was with a bogey for Tristan. Yeah, he had bogeyed hole 14 out at the Country Club. So really impressive, and that was probably one of my favorite questions to Eagle, regardless. Yeah, was, hey, now we know what can be shot. We saw it happen. And, what do you think of that 13 under? And he recognized and said, of course, he'd be happy with that as well. So very, very solid shooting by Tristan. And, Tristan's one of those guys that we know it can throw a mile and takes disc golf and his career and health, fitness, wellness, all of those things so seriously. But then we haven't seen him perform to his full potential week in and week out. He has these bouts of magic, and he does some really good things, and he's so impressive with so many of his skill sets, but he doesn't always get them to shine on the biggest stages. So, maybe there was less pressure. Maybe it just doesn't matter. Maybe it was just his day. I mean, we all know sometimes you could throw a disc backwards, it feels like, and it could find the basket. So whatever Tristan was doing out there, very, very impressive. And of course, he's hoping to be a contender right there after he gets a round in at Jones tomorrow. And one would say, well, he's got every bit of skill set to go rip up Jones just the same. Looking at his UDisc stats today, clearly impressive, 100% C1X putting. And 90% fairway hits, which I kind of expect out there, especially with a good score. And he had 160 footer. He only made, the 60 footer. And then I apologize, 2 holes later, he had a 49 footer. And then way back on 12, he had a 38 footer. So it's not like, he just threw in 100, 10 shots from circle 2 and whatever. It was just an all around solid performance, and 100% C1X putting is almost always going to result in a good score. So nice work, Tristan Tanner. Clearly, there's going to be a lot of eyes on watching what he's going to do tomorrow out there. So Paul had asked, and this is where something I want to quickly touch on before we move off of MPO. This year, from my understanding, they took every single competitor and then just split them equally by rating in terms of the A versus B pool. Yeah, just straight up rating. So
it's probably the right way to do it.
It is, in theory, the absolute most fair way that you could do it. And there's been arguments about this since you and I played Worlds for the last 20 years and everything in between, and I get it. But this year, more than ever, and Robert Leonard was telling this story, and you and I remember as well, at one point at Worlds, when you used to sign up for the World Championships, it would literally ask on your registration form, who else are you traveling with? And they would kind of take that into consideration while putting the pools together. And I was always traveling with Barry Schultz and Ken Klimos. It's what I mean, because you're always trying to get into the A pool. That's where the best players were. And then at a certain point, they, it became clear that, hey, you should really have all the quote unquote top contenders at least on the same course playing, because you could have courses that are 45 minutes apart and have 2 completely different weather conditions. And I understand we can still have that with someone that tees at 7:30 in the morning on day 1 versus someone that tees at 3:30 in the afternoon or whatever. I understand that's still possible, but that's why I use the phrase, this is the most fair way to go about it, because there's just not a perfect way to do it. So, and let's I don't think it's a big surprise or secret.
Would it
the wind conditions at 10:30 this morning were just a tad nicer than the wind conditions at 3:30 this afternoon. So,
is there an argument for the PDGA? Because the way we did the way the PDGA did it this year is normally they split pools based on division. So usually, in the past, FPO has been a different pool. They've usually played a different course than MPO. Blah blah blah. Well, this year it's a little different. I haven't looked at the actual pool assignments, so to know if the FPO is in the same considered pool as MPO. But we have the top half of FPO with the top half of MPO playing the same course.
Bingo. And
then the bottom half of FPO and the bottom half of MPO is playing the other course. Would it make more sense? Because we've heard the complaints before from players that people play at different times, blah blah. If you took the top and bottom half of MPO and put it in a pool, and then had the bottom half start early, and then the top and middle half, so to speak. So more or less, all your top players are playing in the afternoon, maybe just on different courses, especially in a city. I know it's different for every city because courses could literally be 45 minutes apart. This courses are 3 throws apart in the city of Emporia, practically.
3 Simon throws.
3 Simon throws. I wonder if it would make more sense, in hindsight 2020, and I'm sure the PDGA thought of this, to have all your top quote-unquote players playing in the afternoons, just at different courses.
I feel like that's what's happening. You have Tristan Tanner's teeing off at 2:50 tomorrow.
Well, that's because he shot the best round. I'm saying first round.
Oh, you're saying. Oh,
because right now, if you think about it, cool. Guess what? As we know, the pools are different. I'm just going to scroll down to someone like a Kale LaVisca, who's in 52nd. He might be teeing at 10:30 tomorrow morning. I don't know. 12 tomorrow morning. I don't know. But he's still shooting way better than a majority of the B pool, who's going to shoot later in the afternoon at the top of the B pool. I'm just wondering if it would make sense to chop it. And
how granular do we want to get? And
we'll go to go out to social media and we'll see who's complaining that they had to shoot this morning at at 10:30 right after the FPO, but they were in the A pool because they're a 1,020 rated player, but yet a 1,000 rated player gets to shoot in the afternoon. Now, thankfully, really the weather didn't make any difference. There was almost no wind today, a few little gusts here and there. Everything was like 5 to 12 miles an hour, basically. So it didn't matter. I'm just saying, I bet you there's someone out there that's going to make that argument.
I'm sure.
Just putting it out there, Terry, throwing it out into the ether and waiting for the PDGA to tell me why I'm dumb.
You're not doing enough for me is what I'll say.
Maybe I'm overthinking it a little bit.
No, your logic's not as dumb as usual. And so, or as I like to say, it's not the dumbest thing you've ever said, but I get it. We just, how many different ways do we need to start splitting the hairs? And that's fine. I mean, yes, I understand where you're coming from. And in theory, it could be done. We could also then turn around and still have our arguments about super cards and featured cards and whatever. I mean, there's just, and how far down the rabbit hole do we want to go?
Let me be clear. I'm completely fine with how they're doing it. Truly, I am. I don't care. I don't care when players complain that they have to play in the morning versus the people in the afternoon. I think they're mostly whining about it. But just putting it out there, trying to overthink things as I usually do.
I mean, look at the quote-unquote advantage the earlier players got at Des Moines last week. They got their entire round in and got to naturally, so to speak, play one round a day for 3 straight days. And of course, the later players had a much crazier weekend. So when it's all said and done, we know this. It's all going to even out. Like, over the longevity of your career,
5 rounds.
You get some breaks, you're going to not get some breaks. It's all going to average out at some point. So
I agree.
All right.
I agree. Except for me.
Let's except for you. I mean, they always
put me in the pool, in the special K pool, and I'm always playing last. And
well, I mean, they also do still use the scores. They do,
and let me tell you, that's just a bunch of crap. Because sorting me by my score, I disagree with that mentality. I think it should be by height all the time.
Yes. I think Skilo would have a problem with that. But anyway,
it's not my problem.
All right. So over on the FPO side, there's the only way you can say it. And here's a question I just ran out of time to ask Paige, and it's not mean-spirited, but it's a legitimate question that I still would love the answer from her is, what is it like coming into the Worlds and by a lot of accounts, not being the favorite? And again, that's not a slight on Paige, but that's a question I did have prepped in the back of my head, and I ran out of time with her in the press conference. But by and large, she's still one of the favorites. There's no doubt about it. Nothing's changed. Her round today hasn't changed that. Nothing's changed that. However, there is such a loud clamoring, understandably, for Mrs. Consistent and, Mrs. Everything in Kristen Tatar. And so there's a different feeling. Let's put it this way. In the 6, 8, 10 years that Paige has been as dominant as she has been, we haven't heard at Worlds time, I think someone else is going to win, as loudly as we're hearing this year.
Going into every Worlds, probably for the last 8 years, Paige Pierce has been the favorite. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And Kat's got it in a few. We saw Sarah Holcomb get one back in 2010?
2012.
Yeah. We've seen other women win, but every year going in, Paige has always been the favorite, probably other than this year, where now, if you look out on UDisc, they've got a new feature called their win probability, which more or less gives you there's a huge article on it. Mo and I had this discussion off the air about how accurate it is and this and that. But going into the round, Kristen Tatar was predicted, she came in at 60% chance to win this event.
That was the number. I thought it was 45, but okay. Anyway, 60, okay. And now, after today's round,
she's at 80,
shifted to
85.
88%.
Okay, 85, sorry. Which means, now if you go and read their article, they look at all the different holes and they simulate like 20,000 times per second. And
Yeah, math.
I think
They do math.
which again, I'm calling bananas on that. I don't believe math should be involved in disc golf. Keep your math out of my disc golf. But Tatar is ultimately right now an 85% chance to win. The next closest is Paige Pierce at 4%. Now, my argument was that I think I thought Tatar going in at 60% is a little bit high, but you want to take math. Clearly, something looks right because she's in the lead, and a lot of people are almost calling this over already.
That's just silly.
I agree, because we haven't seen Country Club can do a lot of things. The issue is Kristen Tatar is so consistent that the odds of her losing so many strokes, and the people that she's losing, I mean, you have to look at the competition she's going up against right now. Who are her nearest competitors? Hannah Blumrose, who's a phenomenal thrower of the disc, but has had issues putting. She said it in her after round interview. He basically said, how's your putting out there? She's like, it's not good. Like, she was so blunt about it. And she's down to Kristen by 2. Ella Hansen, who is a very streaky player still young on the course, she is down by 3 to Tatar, and Ella has issues with her putting at times. Jen Allen, who can crush as well, no surprise she's on the top card. And we've seen Jen Allen go through streaky moments with her putting. Tatar just feels like she's the most consistent. Personally, I think the two people that have a chance of catching her right now might be Henna and Evelina. And we all saw Evelina have her struggles with the putter today. She missed a couple inside the circle for birdies. Quote unquote, if she can clean it up, blah blah blah, I think Ev has the best chance to catch her. Maybe Henna can keep it up, but again, we could see Tatar come out tomorrow and shoot a 1 under, and a lot of women out there shoot a 5 under, and then it brings everything in.
Exactly what happened, and not that I would bet on it or count on it, but we saw at Des Moines, Kristen Tatar came out with a scorching first round, and I know there was a little bit of weather and everything else that kind of made the day goofy, but she didn't follow it up, and I'm not taking anything away from how incredibly consistent she is. In fact, I'm spewing her consistency left and right with her never finishing off the podium and everything else, and I think it's almost undervalued just how much her consistency has been. Yeah. The fact that she hasn't finished off the podium, the only time she's done so in 3 years is at last year's Worlds with the stiffest competition she's ever seen, and a short travel day, and just a ton of other, I don't want to call them excuses, but a ton of other legitimate challenges at the World Championships. That's the only time she's finished outside of the top 3. And to me, it's just insane, because the more I think about that statistic for her, the more I appreciate just how damn good she really is. It's and I've seen the best of the best for the last 20 years, and nobody has been that consistent over a multiple year span.
I would argue that maybe, speaking of moving on to our next competitor, Julianna Korver, who's in 6th place, maybe you could have said that back in her heyday, that she was just consistently better than every player out there. And she did not.
Of course.
But now, granted,
she wasn't playing in fields of 35 and 40 and 50 and 60 women either.
And the competition was not nearly as tight and tough as it is now. People were throwing different discs. I agree. But I mean, if you hindsight 2020, look back at the time, I think you could say Korver had a consistency level that maybe we're seeing from Tatar, but Tatar is just doing it up against better competition. But anyway, so 6th place, Julianna Korver. I think she's my biggest surprise of the day. 6th place at a World Championships on a very long course. She missed 2 really easy putts. We're talking inside of 10 feet. She front right to the front basket, but she got a few bonuses as well. She hit like a 50 for 60 footer. She hit two 50 footers. They mark them as 49 feet. She hit 2 50 footers to make up for the 2 inside the target practically that she missed. But
Which
Julianna,
would you rather have? Go back. Would you?
I would take the
If
two
she
inside
could
inside the target 100% of the time.
even after the end of the day, and your score is going to, let's just say your score is going to remain the same, obviously, and you go back to her and you say, hey, we'll give you those two 10-footers and mark those down as you making those, or you're going to have those, but we're going to give you the two 49-footers. And aside from like stats, and if you care about your stats, but just mentally, psyche-wise,
you take the 10-footers 100% of the time.
okay.
It's especially, I'll say for me, it would be embarrassing to miss the putts that she did, and I'm sure she's embarrassed. You can see it on her face. Just like when Evelina does the same thing, it's embarrassing to miss a putt that you could virtually reach over and if your arm was a foot and a half longer, you could drop it in, and she's practically missing those because she's just not putting enough effort behind them, not putting enough spin. She's kind of trying to flop them in there. And I don't blame her. You know, we've seen some spit putts at times and this and that, and maybe she's concerned about that. I get it. I understand why she's doing it, but the 50-footers tend to feel a little more lucky, even if they're not.
Or like bonus.
They're like bonuses. So if you miss a 50-footer, nobody cares. If you make them, that's great. Missing a 10-footer, it's gotta just hammer on your psyche. You have to think of every comeback putt that you miss. Like, oh, do I want to miss this 20-footer and have a 10-foot comeback? I missed that other 10-foot comeback. Like, you don't think about, oh, well, I'm 50 foot out. I missed that last 50-footer. I'm probably going to miss this 50-footer. Nobody thinks like that. So definitely, 100% of the time, you're taking the 10-footers. I think that's just logic.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong for some people. If out on the board, please tell me if you would rather have two 50-footers or versus the two 10-footers. But anyway, Julianna Korver, my surprise of the day.
Yeah. And I get what you're saying. You know, 50-footers are almost a bonus in the first place. You're not necessarily counting on them. And in just the same regard, though, they might give you the extra boost of either confidence or momentum or just overall vibes and feels of like, you know, hell yeah. So there is something that they could be doing for you that you wouldn't normally expect either. But I hear what you're saying.
No, I agree. Missy Gannon tied for 6th as well with Julianna at 5 under par. Kat Merch as well. And then, you know, I'm not shocked to see Owen Scoggins in the top 10. If you would have told me after 4 or 5 holes that she was going to be in the top 10, I might have I might have had a different response, considering Owen took a triple bogey on the first hole and then a single bogey on the next hole, on hole 2, and then 4 straight pars. So she was 4 over par after 6 holes. And she managed to get herself to 4 under par by more or less birdieing 8 of the 9 or 7 of the last 8 holes? 1, 2, 3, 6 of the last 7. Sorry, 6 of the last 7 holes she birdied, and literally just amazing. It was fun to watch, and as always, I'm the biggest Owen fan there is. It's enjoyable when she's shooting well because she brings up the atmosphere for everyone around her. She was in a threesome, so they were just cruising through the course. It was her, Henna, and Diesel. So
Deanne Carey, okay.
Deanne Carey, all 3 of them, and it looked like they were having a blast. So Owen Scoggins,
as we've said, yeah, I mean, anytime you're on Owen's card, if you're not having fun, that's on you. Like, just period. Like, that's your fault.
You're 100% right. So also tied for 9th place with Owen is Haley King. And then we get down to 11th place, Paige Pierce, Valerie Mondahano, Deanne Carey, and Alex Benson. So those are your top, technically, 11. The name that nobody's talked about and nobody said anything about yet, because you have to scroll way down, Katrina Allen, 2 over par. Just a rough day out there. Seemed to have OB issues. She had 5 OB strokes out there and only missed 1 inside the circle putt. 91% C1X, but 5 OB strokes right away. Just, it's a killer. It is a killer.
Yeah.
And she, in theory, figure OB stroke, you're probably at least 5, maybe more strokes because you're not losing distance if you go in some of these OBs. So she could be 5 to 7 strokes better without those OB strokes. And she's right in the midst of it. But right now, it's hard to see Kat as a contender in this event. Again, down by 12 strokes. Now, Kat is another one of those players that has a very, very good pedigree and could come out and shoot 2 course records and get herself back into the mix. But, and again, I'm not jumping to any conclusions, but.
No, I'm not too worried about Kat. And I'll go as far as, and I understand how silly this might sound. I'll go as far, though, as throwing out the OB stroke that you find on hole 1. It's a matter of not getting a second one there, but getting an OB stroke, obviously that's going to be a really common play. That's going to be a common occurrence. And I don't fault people for that OB stroke that's found on hole 1 at the Jones course, just because that all that means is she likely went for it and then, didn't get on. And
she did. That's
quite
exactly
common.
That's exactly what she tried.
Yeah.
She went on, she tried to run at it. She ended up on hole 1. She was left, which seemed to be I saw Paul Macbeth miss an ace by about 2 feet, and everyone else seemed to come up left into those trees. So that was the miss today.
If I watched, I'm just going to throw out a number, 20 drives on hole 1 and of the ones that didn't make the green or find safety on the green, 17 of them were left. Like,
why is that,
way left?
Is there a slight headwind that players are trying to turn a disc and flatten it out? Because it seems to me, and granted, I've never thrown the hole, a slight hyzer looks like the quote-unquote best route, a real straight to barely hyzer, like a stable putter or a stable mid-range.
And
that would just
anything, the wind,
everybody's going left.
If anything, the wind is pushing left to right, like gently. Maybe it's a little over your shoulder, maybe it's a little more direct, but if anything, it's pushing left to right. Now, if it were pushing right to left, I'd be like, okay, that's just, I get it, and people are getting the nose up and it's just stalling out. That's not the case. I feel like people are maybe tentative about overthrowing it or turning it over too much. It's just the common miss today was definitely, that would be such an interesting, like if somebody statistically just sat there on in the bench and watched every single drive today, you'd be surprised how many people, and they've done that on holes, how many people just like missed it left, like right out of their hand. Greg Barsby comes to mind. Like his had no chance, left, right out of his hand. Paige Pierce, left, right out of her hand. It was just, that was certainly the most common miss out there. Nerves, tentative, it's the first hole of worlds. Just maybe a little tentative and just thinking, okay, don't juice this, calm your your heart rate and your adrenaline and throw it a little bit lighter. And the next thing you know, it's way too light and it doesn't even think about getting on inbounds. Very interesting for sure.
I want your opinion, Terry. Hole 1, I like the hole. I think it's a good hole. I love that, DD flat out listened to our podcast a couple months ago, took my advice and put one more layer of bricks back there.
Again, you're so smart.
100% all my idea. If EMAC shows up tonight, I'm sure he'll give me credit for it.
Yeah, and you're the only one that said it too.
I'm sure I'm the only one.
Part.
Hey, I'm the only one with a podcast that probably said it. So
yeah.
Well, I don't listen to all the other podcasts, but anyway. So I'm glad they did that. But the argument for hole 1 is that it's a bad hole 1. Do you care about that? Do you think there's something about walking up to hole 1? Because a lot of times what we see these days, and we'll see it at the country club tomorrow, walking up to hole 1, and it's just like everybody's getting amped up. You got the announcer announcing your name. Everybody wants to, as you're so often to say, Terry, everybody wants to yeet that disc.
Yeet, mother.
So, do you think this is a good hole 1 because it's a change where you actually have to control your emotions? You have to really temper down those feelings of anxiety that you can't just unload on a piece of plastic on that first hole to get that first hole jitters out? Or do you like going into hole 1 knowing, yeah, we get to watch like these big guys or women crush these discs on hole 1, and that the current hole 1 would be a better, say, hole 2? I don't know. What's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I mean, You're not original here, Johnny. In that, I only say that Hannah Macbeth and I had a quick conversation in between rounds today, and she really asked essentially the same question. She's like, "You have this hype, and we have this build up, and here we are. It's hole one. It's the World Championships. OB, 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 layup, OB." Like, and you see all of that, and is it just a timing thing? Would we think it's any better of a hole or worse? But would we think it's any better of a hole if it were hole 3 or hole 9 or hole 17, as we commonly see, to close out some tournaments or some rounds? It is an interesting. I will agree, and again, I'll borrow Hannah's kind of analogy or phrasing a little in agreement. There's a deflation there. It's you're throwing, and let's just say you saw the 4 best players in the world say, you know what, we're not taking bogey. We're just going to lay it up, and all 4 of them lay it up. All 4 of them put it onto the green, and they all walk away with pars, and they gain strokes on the field. It still doesn't. It's just a feeling. I know that sounds silly, and do we have to be worried about that as does EMAC think about that as a designer, or is he thinking, right out of the gate, hole one, we're going, with this really, tense moment, and hole 2, oh, by the way, we're going to give you, a mile and a half to throw on a par 5, and we're going to go from the shortest hole on the course to the longest hole on the course. I guess that's something interesting. Those are back-to-back holes. I don't want to say I'm indifferent, but yeah, I can understand a conversation about just the placement, or the timing is a better word. The timing of hole 1. It is kind of weird. It's like here's our, and I say this very selfishly. I see James Conrad, I see Katrina Allen, your defending champions, and they're stepping up to this hole, and clearly they've got to execute just as good of a shot as anyone else that's not defending a world title. It just feels a little weird to be like, oh, okay, you're OB. You're starting your world title defense off with a bogey. Like,
well,
pretty much
you could do that. You could do that at Country Club too. You could easily whip it out right or left.
You certainly can, but like OB. But like you're saying, there's not nearly as much pressure or intensity on that initial tee shot at Country Club. There's still OB, and there's still a million ways to bogey that hole. Don't get me wrong, but like you just said, if you're gonna yeet, you're gonna do it hole 1 at the Country Club, and that might calm some of the nerves. Yeah. So I think I give EMAC credit in that you're starting out with a little intensity right off the bat.
It does feel, like you said, it feels a little deflating, but I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to EMAC and the DD crew in that you have one course where you do get to just launch it on hole 1. And then you have the other course where you have to you have to control your emotions. You have to focus immediately. Your name is being called, you're stepping up to that tee pad, and you think you have to make a decision. Lay it up and get a 3, or go for it and probably get a 4. Like, that is an immediate decision that you have to make on the spot with I think it may be a little easier to go by your game plan if you're not the first person. But if you're the second person and you watch Paul Macbeth or Eagle McMahon put it right on the island, that's got to go in the back of your head thinking, I don't want to lose a stroke to them like right away. I don't want to be one off of the pace after 1. I really actually am turning towards liking this particular hole 1 because we have Country Club. If we didn't have Country Club, I think I would rather see it later in the round. But because we have the Country Club start, this is a good change of pace. Because would people be complaining if we were getting this hole 1 tomorrow? That you get to watch day 1, hole 1 at the Country Club, everybody's throwing it really far. Day 2, hole 1, it's a short one, or is it only because it's the very first hole of the event that the spectator gets to see usually? I don't know the answer.
I think there's something to be said just about the overall timing. Here we are, the first throw to defend or go after your world championship title, and it's just so, dare I say, so damn easy to go out of bounds. And so that's where I can understand the argument against it. But like you said, I mean, you can lay up, you could play for the 3. Mm-hmm. I mean, Eagle McMahon, who's tied for the lead, watched 3 other people throw out of bounds, or at least 2 other people throw out of bounds,
it up.
and and he pitches it up and plays for a 3 and
Takes
just
a
moves
stroke.
on. And there again, you run some magic simulation of 200 people, 200 MPO players playing that hole, and then tell me what the overall score will be after 5 tournaments, and then maybe you think back to yourself, oh yeah, there's no shame in a 3 here. I'm just going to play for the 3. I mean,
Well,
same or similar logic could be applied, of course, to hole 17 at USDGC, which is, yes, is very birdieable hole, but what if I just play it for a 3 every single time and get a 3 every single time somehow?
I like it.
I mean, obviously, that's all the beauty of it.
I've come back around to say that I do like the whole one the way it is. I know a lot of people earlier in the day I had been talking to some people. I'm like, yeah, I can see your point. I would love it. No, I am back on I think it's a good starting hole for our world championships.
One thing I do love, and like you said, I will echo it, is seeing that extra layer added to the back, which in all honesty, I don't remember you saying something that clever. Maybe you did. I don't know. You can check the notes. But I do, wherever it came from, I do really like it. It's not crazy if it were added 2 or 3 layers or created like an official, backstop or green monster. I don't think I'd like that. But just that one, just a little extra, I do like it.
Because I do
think
recall
it looks nice and everything played out well.
At DDO, I think I saw 1 or 2 of them hit the chips and skip off the back, which is what made me think of it. And so it doesn't prevent that because you could still skip up and over, but it's a lot more difficult with just that little extra layer. And I think it takes away a little bit of, I mean, that's a very, very difficult green to hit.
Yes.
And I do like the change they made in the drop zone on that hole, that they centered it and brought it a little bit closer to kind of tempt you to go for that. And
correct. And that also very intentional.
Correct. And so if you do miss and you go at it, there's a good chance you go out of bounds past it. We see a lot of players that are kind of just trying to flop it in there so that they don't go out of the back of the green, the OB green. It's weird calling it a green when there's OB surrounded by OB, but yes, back in the
and then it really, you jump on it and it's cut up rubber tires. Mm-hmm. So it feels really weird, and it's a special spongy like feeling. And I'm just throwing it out there as well. When you're on it and you're about to putt from it, if you have anything that requires a little bit of extra leg power, or you're trying to put something on it, you have to be comfortable with putting on it. It's not quite like a sand, but in the sense that like the plant and the foot and the release and the power and the weight shift all feels different when you're on there. So, I mean, it goes without saying, you want to get it as close to the basket as possible always, but maybe even there more than ever, because that it does have a weird feel to it when you're putting and you're standing on top of there. So I was jumping around in there, just having a great time.
You were trying to bounce. You were trying to get a higher up. You were measuring like your ups.
With me. Yeah, me and Beyonce and Jay-Z. I don't know.
So Terry, so in MPO and FPO, what is your biggest surprise in each field right now? Whether it's a player or a situation, what is your biggest? What are you taking? I don't say what are you taking away, but what's your biggest surprise in each division?
I don't know. As I'm looking at the FPO scores and where people are and whatnot, of course, I'm a little surprised to see Paige, so to speak, that much off the pace. Same obviously could be said of Katrina, who had a rough day out there. So I think that's a fair statement to say. If you said to someone, hey, I bet you Katrina's going to be sitting in 30th or worse after round 1, most people would bet against that. So I think that's fair to say that's a legitimate surprise for sure. And you hate to see it for our defending champ. Her and Paige, just both of them really struggled today. Mm-hmm. And then I think in a very pleasant way, as we kind of talked about, Henna, Henna and Evelina have always been kind of this package deal of, Henna, Evelina, and Kristen. And when we talk about the European women and the additional parity that they bring to the overall division, and then for the longest time, recently, it's been very much like, yeah, Henna and Evelina are around, and they're very good and they're very solid. However, Kristen's is the killer of that 3. And now this weekend we see, immediately Henna and Evelina step in. They're both sitting, in the top 4 spots. So I don't want to call that a surprise, but it's also not what we've been seeing normally. And Henna, I think, is the one that jumped up even more so. Evelina, we saw contending at European Open, and I feel like her consistency in her finishes have been a little bit better lately. So to see Henna and Evelina both up there, both in that conversation in the first card or two, is awesome to see. And nothing for nothing, JK, you said she missed a few short putts. We know she's got all these, amazing skills, and everything she's doing seems timeless these days. But to be sitting here in a tie for 6, just 5 off the lead, which is not crazy, given that anything can happen. I mean, what's the money line on JK winning her 6th
before Paige
does? I mean, I think she even said it in the press conference, or said it recently in an interview, that she doesn't necessarily think that that's where she's going to see herself finishing. But as they say, that's why we play, right?
There has to be tonight a glimmer, like just she's sitting, like, maybe going into the event, she probably didn't give herself much of a chance. She's tied for 6th. There has to be that tiny little pinprick of a light in the back of her head that says, maybe I get 6. Let me go out there. So Julianna, Evelina, and Henna, do you know what they all have in common?
I's and A's in their name?
Well, no. I mean, maybe, but 0 OB
You just
strokes.
said Julianna. Oh, Henna doesn't have any eyes.
She has no eyes. She's blind. No.
But they all end in A.
They all do end in A, their first names.
That's some big brain thinking.
That is some big brain stuff, Terry. No, 0 OB strokes. And Tatar had 1 on hole 16, where she ended up still getting the par on it. But that is the key to this course. You need to keep it in bounds. Paige Pierce had 4 OB strokes. We saw Kat had 5. Haley King was sitting there with 4. Owen Scoggins technically had 3 because she had 2 on hole 1. She went for the putt, I think, and missed it and ended up going past it. Because we know Owen, if it's in within 60 feet, she's not laying up. So, Kat Murch had 4 OB strokes. Missy Gannon had 2. So, Jen Allen had only 1. Ella Hansen with 2. That is the key to this course, is you need to keep it in bounds. Had Paige just kept it in bounds, and Paige had some, as you saw, some bad throws. She was releasing things early. We saw Kat have some very weird form issues today. I don't know if it was bad footing or just a change in her form, as you had said. It just didn't look right the first few holes. You keep those in bounds, and you're right up there with all the other women. But that's where Paige has always struggled, she goes at everything, and she takes the consequences with her.
Yeah. Well, we'll see as they attack the country club tomorrow. And of course, that's where everyone's going to be heading from the A pool.
There's no OB there, though, right? There's no OB at the country club?
I think they got rid of it.
Okay, good.
I think they lined it with snowballs. So I think everything should just be fine. Just look for the snowballs tomorrow, and you'll be all fine out there.
Okay.
So that's what we saw on the FPO side. Moving back over to MPO, we can quickly talk about what we're going to see there. Again, obviously heading to the country club. A couple changes out at the country club that we're going to see that are going to be available to everybody, but still playing. Well, let me check the math. Oh yeah, hole 1 still 1,224 feet. Yeah, it's we've got some beastly golf. That's got 2 par 5s on that course. 3 par 5s. And did somebody tell me in my ear today that Noah Meinsma had 4 eagles?
I believe
was that good
that.
U-disking?
I believe I believe I did hear that.
Yeah. I am double checking right now. Okay, so that's not right.
No.
It's funny the things you hear when you're out there walking around and you don't do the math for yourself or do the checking. I could have swore Ian said at a break off air So I'm calling them out here. That something about having 4 eagles out there, and I'm looking and seeing none. So maybe there's a UDisc mix up. Maybe they're scoring them at the wrong course. Like, like, you know what I mean? You're getting a 2 on a par 4 at because you're no, I don't know how that happens.
No, he definitely
Anyway.
did not have 4 eagles. He did not. I don't think he had a
he
single
was
eagle.
100%. Yeah, he was 100% C1X, and 0% from C2. So rarely would you not get a single eagle if you don't have any at least C2 hits. But nonetheless, no, mine's about 1 under. So we got that in there. Quick shout out, Macy Veladiaz celebrating her birthday today. I feel like they've been celebrating it for 3 or 4 straight days. There was a big pickleball thing the other night.
That's the way to do it.
With like there were like 35 people pickleballing, and then there was a cake and singing and everything else. And that was 2 nights ago. And then I feel like she maybe got to go out to dinner, and there was more celebrating last night. And then we got to wish her a happy birthday on the course again today. So it's Macy Veladiaz week, everyone. It's officially renamed that, which I'd be a fan of. I'd be okay with that initiative. So happy birthday to her. Yeah, Disc Blaster, something actually funny and on point, says maybe there was 4 eagles in his bag. It would be funnier if he wasn't sponsored by DGA, but yeah, almost.
Maybe he found him on the course. Maybe he found him on the course. Like, hey, everyone keeps seeming to lose these eagles. I just have 4 in my bag.
So over on the MPO side, like we were just saying, Country Club. I mean,
well, real quick,
I know this maybe.
To explain it to everybody, in case you don't know, after the next round, they will shuffle, as Nate Doss called it, the Great Shuffle.
The Great Shuffle.
I think they'll get a sorting hat out from Harry Potter, and then they start picking names. But after this round, they'll shuffle. Up in a cape. I think it happens. I mean,
I'm here for the Great Shuffle.
Jerry, if you don't do that, if you don't do that, I will be so disappointed. I will be so disappointed if
my top hat will have GS for the Great Shuffler.
Anyway, after this round, there'll be the shuffle, and everybody will be reassigned pools. Obviously, your top 50 or so players in each division will go. I think it's 50. Is it
50%? No, it's
70. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's anyway. It's like 50 players or something, or 40 players.
Well, no, it's got to be more than that. There's 211. MPO
I'm sorry. I was
players,
looking at FPO.
If you say
sorry.
top 50%,
I was looking at FPO.
Roughly 105-ish players.
Yeah, it's gonna be about 105 players. Will be in the A pool, so to speak, and then everyone else will be in the B pool. After the 4th round, they will shuffle again, and I believe after the 4th round, it's cut. There's a cut after the 4th round.
So.
I hope so.
Get those scrubs out of there.
That's right.
After 4,
and then the final round will be
yourself
ECC.
by then. Get out.
So yeah, shuffle and cut every 2 rounds.
Yeah,
which is my new TikTok thing. It's shuffle and cut.
I was gonna say it sounds like a game you would play in Vegas, but anyway. All right, so tomorrow what we're gonna see, and this goes without saying, maybe as you go to a big bomber course, we're gonna see Double G, Aaron Gossage, who's been clocked at throwing a disc now 111 miles per hour. Eagle McMahon and Anthony Barella. Yeah. No, I mean, I made that number up, but it would be cool if it was.
I was thinking like, wow, Simon in his best days, I think he was pushing 90 or something. Like,
yeah, no, he didn't throw 111. But if he did, it'd be cool.
I mean,
but you're going to see Double G, Gossage, McMahon, and Barella throwing the Country Club.
Is there a better, like, if you picked 4 people out of this entire event to watch MPO, like if you just wanted a distance show,
a distance showcase,
are there 4 better people? Are there? Who's missing?
Do you put Simon and Simon? You swap out Gossage for Simon, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe
I think
not.
Gossage throws just as far as Simon these days.
Yeah, I'm not saying he doesn't. That's why I say
I'm talking
maybe
pure distance. Are they the 4th furthest throwing players out here?
I mean, clearly you've got Ezra out there.
That's true. Double G won the distance competition.
Yeah, so I mean, he good.
Ezra was out there. He took like 3rd. Gannon Burr, I think, took 2nd or 4th or something like that.
Exactly. So,
I mean, I guess you could have Ezra or Gannon in there, but God, honestly, watching those players out there is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's what we're going to see out there tomorrow. On your chase card, we're going to see, so those are the top four on the chase card. We will see Vino Macula, Paul Macbeth, Corey Ellis, Zachariah Johnson. And then rounding out the third card, you will see Barsby, Sexton, Dylan Horst, and Calvin Heimberg. All right. And then as I see a few of those names, plus the very next name I see on the next card, starts with Chris Dickerson. Real quick, did everyone get the full scope of what went down at the players meeting last night and the shirts and the guys? Did anyone hear that story? So it was the TikToks way back in the day, like months ago. It was a thing where significant others would convince or trick their men, in this case, I believe, for a golf outing or for some kind of gathering, and they would get them, their significant others would buy the men the same exact shirt and then convince them or have them wear it to a function. And then you show up, and if 10 or 12 or 20 women did this, or significant others,
Everybody's wearing
all
the
these
same
guys
thing.
would show up wearing the same shirt. Well, essentially that's what was pulled off at the players meeting last night. And in a mildly naive way at the time, and it was actually a fair statement, I sat down next to Avery Jenkins. The meeting was just getting started, and I see next to me, a couple people down, is Katrina and Austin Hannum, and I'm like, I don't think anything of the shirt. But then I see like two people later, or next to him, is Drew Gibson, and Drew Gibson's shirt kind of looks like Austin's. And then a moment later, I saw Joel Freeman walk by, and I'm like, that shirt looks kind of familiar too, but maybe not. Whatever. And then Yuli gets called up for the Bob West Sportsman of the Year award, and he's got what it looks similar. It's like a black and grayish camo shirt. I'm looking, and then I said to Avery, I said, "Is it me or do these shirts look the same?" And Avery made the very appropriate, very disc golf related joke. Yeah, it looks like they all, found the same sale at the same outlet mall, because commonly, a lot of our touring players all of a sudden go to some new city and everybody stops at the Nike outlet or Adidas outlet or whatever. And then next thing you know, everybody has a similar, shirt. Well, sure enough, as I was walking out of the theater, it was then made painstakingly clear, as all the significant others had rounded up everybody. And sure enough, there was like 11 or 12 of them that had the exact same shirts on. Chris Dickerson made the joke or the post that he had been gotten and that it worked out. I was going to quickly look, and it was funny to see all the guys lined up in this way. Sorry, I want to another look. So there were some pictures taken. Yeah, okay. So I see, at least within this picture, Mason Ford, Paul Ulibarri, Colton Montgomery, Chris Dickerson, Drew Gibson, Paul Macbeth, Zachariah Johnson, Ricky Wysocki, along with Austin Hannum, all wearing the exact, and Big Germ. So nonetheless, it was pretty funny to see that they had successfully, so to speak, pulled off this nifty little prank.
And
because at one point I was like, well, no, they're not, like, Drew's not on the same team as Austin. And I was thinking like maybe it was a team. There you go. It was maybe a team shirt. Like, oh, hey, everybody on Team Discraft or whomever. But then I'm like trying to piece it together. I'm like, no, they're not. They don't have any of the same sponsors in common. And yeah, so hats off. Brittany, I believe it was the likes of Brittany Dickerson and Hannah Macbeth and the rest of the crew. I think Silver Lot was also Silver refused to wear the shirt. He didn't like it or something like that. So he didn't end up falling into it. But
well, it just
nonetheless,
looking at the shirt, it doesn't seem like that's not the type of style I would normally see Macbeth in, a camo shirt. Germ doesn't
because it was a black and a gray camo, it was a little subtle. It was a really
I know,
for
but
me
still,
not wearing camo, it's a shirt I would wear as a non-camo guy. I could see wearing it. So it was subtle
But it's
enough,
good. I love
but
I love the
yeah,
prank.
good, nice teamwork there.
I do love the prank. Congratulations to all the significant others that were able to do it.
Well played. Oh, Hannah's out on the board. Says, sorry we didn't get you a shirt.
Yeah.
That's all right, Hannah. That's all right. Nice work though. Credit where credit is due. All right. I mean, obviously I could ramble on and for hours and hours. One thing I will do, not ramble yet, is I'm going to add it up. Dave Greenwell, big shout out to him. He has attended every single world championships from the get-go. He's the only person to have done so. They keep talking about this being the 40th one, and he's attended all 39, and I know COVID's in there, so it's kind of weird. I don't know how that math checks out, but my tiny slant or claim to fame in a similar way is that of course, I haven't been to every Pro Worlds, but I'm somewhere around 37, 38, 39-ish total worlds that I've either worked or played in or run or had some part of. And I want to add that number up. I'm not getting an award for it or even making my own award, believe it or not. But it's pretty crazy to yet still be so excited to go to the players meeting last night. And granted, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a players meeting bingo card of what's going to be said at the players meeting, and it's all in fun. But the provisional rule, of course, is discussed. Usually, it's the late check-ins that get called out. The flags and the processional with having the flags and all the countries represented. There's some really cool parts to the Pro Worlds.
That's called tradition,
And
Terry.
one of the yeah, exactly. A few of them are a little funnier, quirkier than others, I guess. But what I will say is, as they were starting to close out the Pro Worlds, and here's maybe a long-winded takeaway to that is the players meeting, they had announced that there's at least, I think that's a key phrase, at least $200,000 will be the total purse for this Worlds, and that's amazing. In fact, I was just going to look up last year, 2021, and no slight to last year or any other year. PDJ, see what the payout was for last year's Pro Worlds. Efforting, as I think they say.
That's
173,000. I know, 173,000 was the total purse for last year's Pro Worlds, and they're saying at least 200,000. So
that's phenomenal.
Yeah. So very, very cool. The one thing here's they attribute that largely to the spectatorship that they're expecting, or spectators that they're planning on seeing as we close out the week. I will admit, and I don't know if it was a ticketing issue or an accessibility or a day of the week issue. I was a little surprised with how much hype and excitement and anticipation we've seen at so many of these last few events. Today, being a Tuesday, I understand. Today's on-course, in-person spectator base was lighter than I expected. And the bar has been raised, the expectations have been raised, because I think back to a few weeks ago on a Thursday or a Friday when we're just seeing these insane numbers, whether it's a Ledgestone or a Des Moines. And I know we have a whole week, and I know, everything really culminates on Friday and Saturday. I get all of that. I just still expected more than what we saw out there today. So is that, do you think it's just Tuesday in Emporia is just still going to be slow, Johnny? Is that what you chalk that up to?
I think so. And you're going to get the hardest of the hardcores to come out on Tuesday, or your locals, because for anyone else that might be traveling from, we'll just say, surrounding 2 to 3, 4 states to go to the World Championships, coming on Tuesday probably means you're coming all week then, that you've dedicated an entire week. Because very rarely is someone probably going to be like, I'm just going to go on Tuesday. If people have the choice, they're going to want to go for the Friday, Saturday rounds. So Am I shocked? No, not really. I think we're definitely going to see it increase throughout the week. And I'm interested to see with Emporia being Emporia, I'm interested to see what it's going to look like on Saturday, because we had it last year in Utah, but that's a more heavily populated area than Emporia, Kansas. So
Yeah.
if you're coming to Kansas, you're coming from at least 2 hours away. I mean, Kansas City is an hour and 40, maybe hour and a half.
Yeah, roughly.
Kansas
Depending
City,
what suburb and
yeah. So
yeah.
I will be curious to see what type of draw they get, and I don't know if this is going to be the case. Let's say it's a small draw. Let's say they only get 1,000 people to show up, 800.
Okay.
Will that start to make a difference in the future of where Worlds is picked? We've already seen it kind of get weighed based on media. We've seen it. It feels like there's about 4 places that run Worlds now every year, and that's kind of the crews that want to run it, that can run it, because they have the courses, they have the staff, they have the fundraising ability, all that stuff. I wonder if the PDGA will have to at some point start to take that into account. Now, it could be that Emporia shows up strong and 2,200 people show up. And then there's,
yeah, I mean, what's success? That's, I guess that begs the next question is, what is considered success? And I don't know where the numbers are at right now. I haven't had that conversation with Doug or the crew as to how many tickets have been sold. For all I know, 3,700 tickets have been sold, or 760 tickets have been sold. I honestly have no idea what the number is, but yeah, those are all fair questions. And does on-site spectatorship necessarily, is that an indicator at all of a good or bad Worlds experience? It just may be in a location that's not spectator friendly, but people are like,
because
it's Labor Day weekend.
GMC,
well,
isn't that where
think,
isn't that where it's next year at GMC?
Yeah, up at Smuggler's Notch.
In Smuggler's.
But
are we going to see 2,000 people there? I mean, that's a hike to get to there and stay. And
but it's clearly it's part of your. What is your local disc golf scene like? How far of a reach does that have on any given weekend? And then you even think it's Labor Day weekend. Is Emporia with the heat and the location? Is that where you're bringing your family for Labor Day weekend? Are you doing something else? It's the weekend either just starting or just before or just after kids are now in school. In a lot of communities, I know some start earlier, of course, but there's so many factors that right now I feel like it's really hard for us to pinpoint, for sure what was the reason for a success or a non-success.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of all those things like, yeah, Emporia Labor Day weekend when it's 98 degrees, that may not, not that we don't, Emporia knows and loves disc golf and they're putting on a great show, but there's a few boxes that might not check, as a family. So
Zach is telling me that there was no single day tickets except for final round.
Yeah, and I did hear that as well. And
there was some, I think it was
roommate,
unique. Like you had to you had to get like in 2-day passes, or you got like only Jones or only ECC or something. It was definitely a little different. I remember hearing.
Yeah. And I don't know all the details, but I know that was one question that was asked is how did those arrangements come about? And I can't speak to that because I just simply don't know that answer. I'm sure they had their reasons. They run very large, successful tournaments, and they run them very well. So I'm sure they had their reasonings. Now, we may or may not agree with them or whatever, or understand them, but I'm sure they had them for whatever they were. But I guess the biggest takeaway to all of this is really when it was announced by Doug Bjerkes that we would see at least a $200,000 purse. He was very explicit in stating that this is largely due to the spectator turnout.
Wow.
And so I'm guessing ticket sales have gone very well, or they're predicting them to, or projecting them to, but this is all part of the bigger picture and plan. And truth be told, our players need to make a few adjustments. Our players can't necessarily park at the course. They're parking at a different place. They're warming up there. They're getting shuttled over. That adds 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 minutes to their overall round experience. And parking isn't as easy and accessible at Jones as it might be, say, at the country club, and just the community that we're in. There's a lot of different things that are factoring into this. And those all are part of the incremental growing pains that we have. We want big spectators, but when we have too many spectators, it can mess with our live signal. It can affect play. It can affect the time and the flow of play. It can bog down our players who went from signing 5 autographs a weekend to now signing 500 autographs a weekend. These are all part of, our entire game continuing to, grow and expand. It's crazy to see it all unfold is really what it is, more than anything. So, all right. Get them on a camera. Anyway, I think that's about it. In terms of a day one recap. I do have a quick, I don't know if this is I don't think this is I don't know if it's a secret today. And I'm, if it doesn't happen, I'm also not offended. But I believe I locked in or committed to the idea. I know on Thursday night, there is a local football game going on, I believe at Emporia State University.
Mm-hmm.
And the owner from Bourbon Cowboy happened to run into me at Radius, and we had a...
Oh, Terry, you locked up. Oh, there you are. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Happened to talk to you. You ran into him at Radius, the Bourbon Cowboy owner. Sure.
Yeah, and she was very kind. It's awesome to come to these places year after year and have some of the local establishments, have these relationships. We've done podcasts and other things from in there, and I think they serve beverages. And so they're going to have a mechanical bull, and it's also going to be overall part of, tied into the Worlds, but also tied into this football game. Well, EMAC had asked me today, and we'll see if it happens. He had asked me if I'd be interested in being a part of the halftime show / emceeing it, where I think him and Ricky Wysocki and a few others will be doing something with throwing discs or something. And he had asked if I would be part of I don't know, some announcing or talking disc golf or something like that. So that'd be pretty crazy and just a bizarre experience. To be
take your opportunities, Terry.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. If it unfolds and it happens, if it doesn't, that's fine too. But he had asked me if I was interested in it. So yeah, I'm kind of crazy. I've never. I guess I was part of the Admirals out on the ice doing some stuff for our local Milwaukee Admirals hockey minor league hockey team. But anyway, so all the action is here in Emporia. I know that much. Every single night there's going to be stuff going on. And will I get in Rick's face again? Talk a little trash? Probably. That's what I do.
If he deserves it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we saw him, and for those that don't know, me mouthing off and getting in Rick's face at the Funky Farms. There was a lot of conversation going on, and I'm sure some of you have seen the full uncut videos, but we had a lot of fun out there that day, and there was a lot of trash talking and ribbing and going back and forth, exactly all the fun you would expect us to be having. And Ricky, along with a few of the other competitors, got a kick out of the idea that I was throwing a few of my discs were maybe as old or older than some of them. And when I did have one bright, small, bright, shining moment on the day, it was a lot of fun to be able to shit talk Wysocki just a little bit. So that was kind of the setup to all of that, and it was a lot of fun. All right, Johnny, let's wrap this up as a regular show. Maybe we'll quickly get into an after show and talk a few more things with people that have questions. But then we've got editing to do. I got Ryan, my roommate here, who is out hustling around. We've got more doubles action that we can release, and we saw that Gatekeeper was out there getting some cards. We got some cards and released it. I've got even more footage, and we worked with the PDGA to get some field events footage, which I think they're releasing as well. So I know it's all part of the whole World's experience, and we want to continue to share that with you guys. So let's close it out. We are here. It's been awesome. It's been day one at the World Championships, a regular Tuesday night for us, but yet day one at the Worlds. In just 4 more rounds, we're going to be crowning world champions. Could be repeat world champions, or it could be brand new ones. But either way, we're gearing up for the excitement and looking forward to it all here in Emporia. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. This has been Smashbox TV episode 418. Stick around, stay tuned, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll interact with you guys on the chat, answer any questions that you have, and talk about disc golf or non-disc golf related things in our after show, and we'd love to connect with you. So stick around. Again, we'll be right back when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV podcast 418's After Show. We got there. Oh. The right stuff. I had to go to a Gloria Estefan reference today with my roommate here, Zach. And only to find out, and I know you guys are probably wondering that she apparently actually wrote the song "Waiting for Tonight," which then J-Lo had released, but that was written by Gloria Estefan. But how did I immediately associate with her when it was J-Lo's big hit? I don't know. My brain works in mysterious ways, as I think you two once said. Anyway,
putting it mildly.
Welcome, everyone. If you are new here, as we've got a ton of additional viewers tonight, thanks for joining us, of course. But if you are new here or you've never been here before, this is what we call the after show. It just simply takes place after our regular show. We usually continue to ramble on, but now it may or may not be specific to disc golf. So if you have anything you'd like to talk about, topics you'd like to bring up, things you'd like us to ponder or discuss or debate or fight about or tell you you're wrong or right about, go ahead, put it in the chat. Typically, the YouTube chat is the easiest place, but if you put it in the chat, we'll likely find it, and if it's clever or you have a really bright idea, we may take it and pass it off as our own or reword it, and
we almost certainly will.
Yes, because that's really what we do. All right, so I'm reading some stuff here on the chat. What are you drinking tonight, Terry? Last night, Nate and Val had tried to find a couple of new beverages that they thought I'd like, and they were all right. They're staying over at the next hotel. Today, at some point, my roommate went shopping and found Boulevard Bourbon Barrel Quad, and he thought I would like it, and the 12.2% says I do. and anything bourbon barrel aged seems to fit up my alley. And it was good. I have tried this one other time, and it doesn't knock my socks off. It's no backwoods bastard, but it was good. And if there were more of them, I could get down with that. All right. Let's go. We'll sidestep disc golf for a moment. Johnny, are you shocked by any of the cuts for the Packers? We're talking Packers. We're talking Packers here.
We're talking Packers. No, I'm not shocked by any of the cuts made by the Packers. I did not see the ones that were dropped today. I think there was probably 3 or 4 that they had to get rid of, but nothing shocking.
Okay, fair enough. I'll touch on this one. Oh, Pack Raider says, "I love you, Terry." I have strong feelings toward you too, probably. The next one was, "What's up with the Eagle Crossing? Are they not a potential World's host? Drama I missed?" ? I've been seeing this really circulate recently, and I'll admit I don't know any other full story, but people keep talking about them hosting a Worlds. I'll very quickly run through jump on the soapbox about it. You need to have a good course, or usually more than one course, typically. You need to have infrastructure. You need to have, does it have good signal? Is it a good course? Is there money? Is there staff? And have you put in a bid? There could be the world's 2 nicest courses on the planet, but if there's not somebody willing and capable to then head it up locally and be part of the LOC, as they call it, the local organizing committee, then it doesn't matter. You can love your brains out on a course or a set of courses, but if there's not local representation that can take on all the responsibility of being a World's host, then you're not going to have an event. And this happens time and time and time again. Every time a bid is awarded for an event to go somewhere, the first thing someone says, "That's so BS. Why aren't we hosting that?" And then I always reply with, "Well, did anyone in your area apply to host that event?" They don't just call up people and say, "Hey, I hear you have a nice course. We're going to have Worlds there next week." Okay, cool. Like, it goes through this very, very rigorous process. So, but it has to start with somebody wanting to host the World Championships or the U.S. Women's or the U.S. Masters. Okay, so there's a process to that. And now, has there been conversation? Obviously, there has been, because you're not the first to ask about that. I just don't know any details. Maybe I'll try to poke around, but I have not heard of it happening there, and there are a number of things that have to go in place. Zach P says J-Lo is not actually a good singer. She's a great dancer. All right, I mean, you can be wrong. She is a good dancer, good singer. I mean, she was a fly girl.
Do you need anything else?
In color. I mean, what more do you need? Johnny, I just read Flowers for Algernon. Have you?
I have read that. It's been a long time, probably 25
The book was
years.
better. No, the play was better. I saw the play when I was in high school. I don't remember it much, but I did see the play. I think it was put on, Johnny, at Appleton East, I'm pretty sure. It was put on by our high school at
might have been. I don't think I saw. I went to a couple of the Appleton East plays, but I didn't see that one. I actually went to see because a lot of my friends from when I was in middle school ended up being theater nerds. Go figure. And Midsummer's Night Dream. So that was the one that I had seen there.
Someone asked, "Did Kat ever find her disc?" I took a picture at one point. There were 22 people after she had already approached and moved on. 22 people were searching for that disc, and I don't believe it was ever found.
How is that possible?
I don't know that they were looking in the right place, and I didn't see quite where it went. I just knew it had gone OB, so I didn't want to interject, and I wasn't lying when I said I don't want to walk around in there. I mean, I like Kat, and I want her to get her disc, but even that just like shin high stuff out there is just, I've got a couple of cuts on my legs as we speak, because I got off the fairway for 2 seconds just walking on 12. I was like, I don't need to be doing this. Ian pulled a yeet out of his arse today. Again, those are paid sponsorship activations, as we call them. And Yeet is looking for them to get recognized and called out at one point. I believe it was on that very hole, at least with Eagle McMahon, talking about him needing to yeet his disc. And I said, if you yeet too much, you're going to have an OB problem. And that's what I was thinking in my head anyway. So that might get used this week. Ray says, I heard the owner of Eagles Crossing was particular stipulations he needs for Worlds to be there. I would think so, only because it's private property. He's invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, into it. And then there again, there's certain infrastructure that needs to be in place, whether he provides it or gets it provided. So who knows? Kyle says, was watching the Des Moines Challenge on DGN. There was a guy pulling a cart with 30 plus discs. Will PDG ever put a limit on the amount of discs you can carry, similar to ball golf? I doubt it. I'm just going to say I don't see it as a problem right now. And I don't know when it would be a problem. Means you want to carry, pull, push. I was going to say you can't put them on a dog in competition play, but I could be wrong. I've only been around for this many years, and it certainly could happen. I don't see that as, I don't see a lot of people barking about it right now, and I couldn't see a big issue with it really overall. Would you rather a concert at the Rave or Alpine Valley? King Heiser asked. Wow, getting deep in the Wisconsin music scene there.
So the difference is the Rave is a local indoor club, Rave/Eagles room,
downtown Milwaukee.
Downtown Milwaukee, indoor. The Alpine Valley is an outdoor festival atmosphere, one large stage with huge. The first quarter is stadium seating, and then after that, it's all grass seating. Assuming that we're talking good weather, of course, I think Alpine is always the way to go. There are inconveniences with going to Alpine in that it always takes you an hour to get out of Alpine.
And it's always isn't it always? I think it has, if they schedule a concert, then the weather says, yes, it's going to rain here, right?
No.
Isn't that how it works?
Well, no. When I went there earlier this year at Rage Against Machine, it was the most beautiful weather I've imaginable. And when I went there for the Tibetan Freedom concert back in '99, it did rain early in the day. Mm-hmm. It's rained two out of the three times.
Buffett was just there a few days or weeks ago and was rained on. I feel like every time Dave Matthews is there over July 4th, it rains. That's just what I always hear.
Yeah. No, and it does. I mean, it's an outdoor environment. You have to do it. But, I mean, there is something very cool because East Troy, Wisconsin, which is about 45 minutes outside of Milwaukee, is far enough outside where on a nice clear night, it's nothing but stars. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous, as opposed to coming out of the Rave where you're just downtown Milwaukee, and Alpine is always a little bit better. But I've gone to way more shows at the Rave.
All right. D. Lillo. I think our friends Paul Oman and Shasta and maybe some others were just at the Rave a few weeks ago, actually, when they were in the Milwaukee area.
I wonder what show they went to go see.
He told me and I forgot. I forget. All right. Thoughts of increasing the speed on the greens in pro disc golf? It seems like a solution to distance courses.
Wait, say that again?
Sure. I thoughts on increasing the speed of the greens. And essentially, I feel like that means just go out and cut them shorter, potentially.
Slope them a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say more hillsides. I mean, I think we try to utilize those as much as possible. I'm sure those are already, to some degree, obviously they're already thought about to some degree. I know when I'm looking at a piece of property for a course, I'm thinking about, hey, where's the best place for a green? Yeah, sure. I think it always should be considered, I guess is the short answer to that. D. Lillo asked, Terry, the hole where the men bounce off of the small asphalt area to the pin, I think it's hole 11 or 12. How does that beat up their frisbees? Whatever hole you're talking about, it's not bad. And there's no place where you're required, quote unquote required. I don't know which hole you're talking about. You could be thinking of 7 where you might get a skip off the road if you're playing the out over the road, or you maybe are thinking, I don't know where else, or you could be thinking of 17, where we saw a couple skips that hit the road today, or even 16. None of those are plays you're looking for. I guess that's my best answer to all of that. When you step up to the hole, and if you throw a perfect drive or a near perfect drive, rarely will your next best shot on your next shot be, hey, I want to try and skip this off the road. That's usually not what you're going for. It works and people do it, but you don't wake up thinking, yeah, man, second shot on this hole, I'm for sure going to be skipping it off the road. Hopefully you're just not in a position where that's the ideal shot. But to answer your question, not too bad. A little scrape, a little high-speed scrape when coming in with some angle on a driver. Not too bad. I like bourbon. I like beer. Can't stand bourbon-aged beer. Okay, Larry. We all have our struggles. Brian says, that's a cool pattern on your shirt. You always have the best button-ups. Where do you tend to shop? Really all over. They can be sometimes really inexpensive shirts, sometimes only moderately priced. It can be everywhere, anywhere from Kohl's to like a Marshall's or anywhere in between, like all sorts of places. I seek out. I'm a value shopper first. I know. Surprising, right? Pack. I love you too. Maybe. Rogers about the Winfrey cut, Johnny. What do you make of that?
Oh.
Oprah Winfrey?
I don't think they cut her.
You get a ring and you get a ring. All right. Yes, do you remember how Vision Quest started? I think was questioned in there. Yeah, Vision Quest had some amazing. Vision Quest is a course that's about 10 minutes from Blue Ribbon Pines, which is one of the most famous courses probably in the country, in the northern part of the Twin Cities, in East Bethel, technically. And Vision Quest started down the road, and they have a zip line that you can play or use during the round. They designed it with sight lines in mind for video and coverage opportunities. It was like a playground of sorts, and it was a very good course. And I've just heard that it hasn't kept up with itself the way that Blue Ribbon Pines has. So Dan says, lived in Appleton for 5 years. Does that make me a cheesehead? Dan,
you're always kind of a cheesehead, Dan. Even if you're not.
We just want you to be safe and good and healthy, pal. Has the event itself been running smoothly? The PDGA really needs to nail it this year. Everything I've seen has been great. I was here Friday night. I watched and filmed and was participating in mixed doubles. Well, not participated, but filmed mixed doubles on Saturday. That was both rounds were at Jones Supreme. Sunday were the field events, and that ran like all other field events, which very much included, Johnny, can you guess what's one of the most common things that happens at the field events logistically?
The field events, this is how it always goes. Everybody signs up beforehand when they register, and nobody shows up until like usually towards the end of the day, and then they all show up at once. And it's like just a giant cluster usually for almost any event. Like usually more so for distance. Putting, they tend to come a little bit sooner. It's been a while since I've been around Edge, but it just, unfortunately, I think what you need to start doing for field events is start signing up for a time. And if you don't make that time, you thanks for your donation.
Yeah, I mean that's one way you could look at it. So you pretty much nailed it. Not necessarily that they just showed up late or later.
They all show up at the same time because they all coordinate.
They show up at the same time.
The 6 or 8 of us, hey, let's all go together now. And it's like, cool, everyone's going to go at once now.
No, it was more so that people didn't read or comprehend, maybe that's a better word, comprehend the big, bold, blackened letters right there, clear as day. clear as day, that said, you need to start this field event at latest by blank time because it's done at 4, whether that's 3 or 3:30 or 3:15 or 3:45. You need to start it by this time. If it pushes to 4:05, clearly you're good. But you need to start it because they're done at 4. So what did we have? When did some people show up, Johnny?
Wait, if you had to be there by what? They said 3:45?
Well, it said 10 to 4, 9 to 4. We had plenty of people that showed up
at
3:52.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm not picking on you, but I'm picking on you.
No,
like
you should.
And it's just and I only say this because it's so predictable and it's happened. And then I thought, well, maybe the PDGA isn't doing a great job of making that crystal clear. And then we pulled up the website, and the first thing in bold black letters is you need to start by 3:00 or 3:30 or 3:15. It's the first thing you see on the page. So I just want to politely encourage all of our professional golfers and amateurs at any field events, at any worlds, double check the times and just realize what that means. And I chuckle because this happens for the last 25 years I've been to worlds. And so there was skill shot, there was mini golf, there was distance, and there was putting. Like you said, some people showed up at 10 o'clock in the morning and they're like, oh, I don't like the wind, I'm going to come back later, I'm not warmed up. And that's fine. Just know that if you do show up at 3:15, that might be when 22 other people decided to show up. So it just makes things a little bit more hectic. But overall, they had a ton of people out there, lots of volunteers, lots of people working hard. So as far as I can see, I know that was a really long-winded answer to yes, I think things are running very smoothly. Brad says, nice, Terry and Johnny. Flowers crush me. Figured you'd know the flowers.
Yeah, it's no flowers for Algernon.
Oh, there you go. I got you. Okay, sorry. Back to that. Then Brad also said brown deer socks. Stretzka's okay, but easy. And now Terry's Silver Fox, though. That course is sick. I think brown deer is great. Brown deer and Dretzka, and these are Milwaukee courses that were part of the 2007 AM Worlds. But brown deer and Dretzka are both great courses, and you just have to realize there's 3 to 5 to 8 pins on some of those holes. So the course can be set up super short and easy where you should shoot 18 under all the way to you might only get 2 birdies, using par 3. So both of those courses I think are great, but I'm also glad you like Silver Fox, the home of the cold turkey. No, maybe not. Gray Fox will be the home of the cold turkey right in November. I got to play around with Dutch Napier last weekend. Fun. He kicked my butt, of course.
Dutch is a great guy.
What Dutch does.
Player.
I got it. Yep, I could see that. My favorite book is Yeat of Eden. That I could
Yeat
get on
of
board
Eden.
With. Yep.
East of Eden. By the way, East of Eden is a great book. It's one of my favorites.
Is Nico in Emporia this week? I haven't seen Nico. I don't know if he's here. I didn't even see Kat Merch, who I know had a colorful round, which isn't surprising because she does that often, I think. But I didn't see Nico. I haven't seen Nico. He may or may not be in town. Yeah, he could be. He obviously can't be playing because he's suspended, but he could be in town, and he could even, be out there spectating. But I did not see him, and I'm guessing we're not going to. That's nothing more than a guess, though. Brown deer was overgrown. Poking hopes, blind holds, lefty flick shots. Fight me. No,
No, fight.
I'm not going to go.
Fight him.
I'm not going to go die for brown deer. I'm just saying it can be a really nice course, and maybe it's not looking its best right now. What were those fancy black DD branded basket covers for unused holes? Is that going to be standard instead of trash bags? It should, Ray.
They look great.
Those are great. I'm gonna buy some, and they're gonna cover non-DD baskets. But there's a couple tournaments a year that I need to cover up or protect or hide or disguise or whatever you want to call it, make a basket inusable. And I've seen these before where they've busted them out, and I don't know, they probably call them basket covers, I'm guessing. And
clever.
I don't even know what they call them, but they're great. I think they look really sharp. They look so much better than a garbage basket. They make it even that much more clear because here's my big sell on them, and I'm not paid to say this. Although, if you use my coupon, no. They make it clear that the basket is there and it's intentionally not in play. Whereas a trash bag, which I typically have to use, makes it wonder, like, was somebody just being a jerk? Was it covered well? Can we still throw to it? Did a bag get stuck on it or in it? Like, there's so many other random questions. These make it crystal clear that there's a basket there, but it's not in play. And you're an idiot if you're trying to get it in there with that cover on it. So, yeah, now that I've made my pitch, I'm going to buy a couple. Pandemic combines all 27 holes he's talking about. I heard they were grill covers, Ray. Holly said that on commentary. Is curious if he can confirm. Any double disc court cash games going on at Worlds? Sam, that's a very, very specific request that I can appreciate. But as far as I know of, I haven't seen any. I think if there were to get any started, I think JK would be at the helm of that, Julianna Korver. I have not seen any. I've never seen a double disc cash game going in my life. I've seen double disc and I love playing it. I've never seen a cash game of sorts going on. Nobody's got time for that when there's pickleball to be played, if we're being real, because that's what everybody's out doing.
Pickleball's the thing right now.
It is. Fastest growing sport in America.
Sure.
Along with the other 28 sports that claim that, including us. All right. I recall the doubles contest, seeing FPO basket decked out in that black bag on hole 3. Yeah, they're great. Big Germ's wiener shirt. I don't know where this is going. I should probably stop reading. Germ, are those the most wieners you ever had on you at one time? Yeah, that I'll leave that there.
You saw that? Did you know where that's referring to? That's
yeah, of course. That's
okay.
Yeah. Also at the Funky Farms and the Pro-Am and Julian Marquez asking Big Germ.
I was standing right there. I was not following that group, but you guys had just gone at Funky Farms into the back up the hill, and I was not about to walk that hill. So I turned around and walked over by them just as he had said that, which was relatively funny.
Yeah. And I know Julian was out there, wasn't out there, but was watching along today. He had sent me a text during the broadcast. So it's granted, we're great. We have thousands of people watching, but to know we've got, professional MMA fighters that are like locked and loaded and watching our broadcast. And I know he watches a lot of them, is kind of cool that we have that out there. So many people taking it all in. I don't know if there's anything else on the chat that I'm missing. Do any pros play Can Jam? Can Jam was in and out. It was hot. Like Can Jam is the old pickleball.
I just saw Can Jam over at my wife and I were at like a block party here in our neighborhood the other night, and there's Can Jam, and my wife just turned to me, and there was a fun little saying that we had whenever we saw Can Jam, and she turned to me and just said Can Jam, and I was like, yeah, there you go, but not a single soul played it at this little block party.
Yeah, so okay. Who won Mini?
Steve Rico's not there, so.
Anthony Barella.
AB.
Look for that footage to drop. We have every hole. Look for that footage to drop. Damn it! I think we did the
spoiled
the wrong
then.
order here. Yeah. No, I mean he played really well, and if you want to see how he battled it out, unsure of the outcome, but you tune into the Disc Golf Guy channel and you can watch Mini Disc Golf. Any complaints from the players about the practice facility and the shuttle service? I haven't heard as much. I also didn't poll anyone and run around and say, hey, what do you think about this service that they're providing that's trying to help out the event and then create more spectatorship? Tell me your biggest complaint about it. I didn't do that either. So, but I did not hear anyone grumbling or discussing it or talking about it. Could there be some frustrations? Yeah, possibly. Probably people that aren't giving themselves enough time. It's the World Championships. Give yourself a little bit more time to make sure you are where you need to be. What's kind of cool is playing with a former Packers player. Certainly, that was Smith. Pretty cool. As we saw Evan Smith, and I think we talked about it at one point. Evan had brought along his Super Bowl ring and then let everyone put it on and take a picture with it. Which
I got a picture of it with it on.
Feels weird. but not. It was unique. Does the DGN plan on getting closed captions for live coverage? I can't speak to that. I cannot answer that question. I simply don't know.
I don't think closed caption for the Vimeo is an option.
Okay.
When it streams on Saturday on YouTube for free, it will have the natural built-in YouTube closed captioning. And I know Disc Golf Network is always exploring other options as far as they've been doing tests here and there with different providers other than Vimeo. I don't know if anything's going to change. It all depends on how these tests go, but yeah, so stay tuned.
Yeah. We'll
Ray
keep you
asks,
posted.
Who's doing post-production? Is it Jomez, I assume? There's 4 post-production teams for each division.
Is there?
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I think you heard wrong, because I think you're not the only person to.
Well, that is the information that, if it's wrong, you can blame Alta World, because that is where I think everybody else heard it.
That's where I think my roommate had heard it.
Which shocked me.
The better question would be, who named them?
That was my thing. I mean, I can name 4 post-productions, but then you're looking at teams that are doubling up. And I thought, well, maybe Terry's doing, and even though I thought he would have told me, maybe doing an FPO card. Obviously, Jomez is doing lead card. GK is doing lead card of FPO. Gatekeeper is doing second card of MPO, I would make the assumption. I thought, okay, maybe Ace Run is out there doing a third card.
Ace Run's doing FPO.
Or an FPO 2.
Chase. I'm looking right here at UDisc to throw it out there. And it's everything we just said. Disc Golf Network is live, MPO and FPO, obviously. Jomez is MPO lead card. Gatekeeper's MPO chase card. GK Pro's FPO lead card. And Ace Run is FPO chase card. So
okay, so there's 4 total groups.
I love Charlie. Yeah, I love Charlie, but clearly this got a lot of people worked up, because I've heard a lot of people talk about this.
Okay, good.
And I think it was just either a misinformation or a misspeaking that there's not 4 cards deep on both FPO and MPO.
There are 4 total groups covering MPO and FPO is probably.
And this is why I love our podcast, because we're never wrong about anything, and we don't spew wrong information.
That's not what we do. We, unlike Alta World, which just all they do is just spew wrong information. I mean, just they make things up. That's what I heard. That's what Charlie told me. He told me that years ago, that his goal was just to create a podcast and make things up and see who believes him. And I thought, gosh, Charlie, that's kind of rude, but okay, you do you, man. That's not what we do here.
We only spit the truth here. Facts. Hardcore, researched, double verified facts. All right? Double blind studied, tested, whatever, peer reviewed facts. That's all we got here. Or we make shit up. Okay. Terry, did you intentionally film the Calvin Macy card first round because you thought they would win it? Of course. Again, facts. Just spitting facts here. That's what we do. What was the youngest age you have to be to compete in pro events? 15, 16? Because this 9-year-old in Pennsylvania, Cole, is something else. Yeah, I believe we just saw an article or a video about Cole. Honestly, you could be 7
as long as you have a parent, because I think if you're under 13, you have to have a parent join you.
Yeah, but you could. There is no minimum age requirement to be a professional in disc golf at this point. I can't imagine we'll have one. If you're 4 years old and you're rated, you don't have to have this rating, but you're 4 years old and you're rated 990 and you cash at an event, you're a professional disc golfer and you accept the cash. You're a professional. Anybody going to cover Tristan Tanner? What is a good score expected to be on Jones?
That's a really good question. Well, whether or not anyone will take the time to maybe go over and film some of Tristan. If I knew someone that had an extra camera that was there, that maybe a little spare, I think it'd be advantageous for someone to go and film Tristan Tanner. But no,
I hear a volunteer. I hear a volunteer that's rooming with me.
What was that? Huh?
No, as far as I know of, we don't know. Let's just.
There's nobody
Johnny
officially.
And I do not know.
There's nobody officially covering Tristan Tanner. From
correct.
any
Now, will
particular
DGN
circus.
have
No.
a camera or
Nope.
a
Nope.
non-live
Nope.
camera?
Nope. They will not.
Yes, they will. I'm just kidding. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, and that's, yeah, it is what it is. That's all part of the shuffle. That's all part of how it
The
unfolds.
Great
And those aren't our calls.
Shuffle.
The great shuffler will be there. You just wait.
Yeah, you need to show up with a top hat and a deck of cards towards the end of the round.
Shuffler.
I am the Great Shuffler.
All right. I don't remember. Okay. Gannon and back in 50th after the year he's had. That means nothing to me. I understand. I'm not saying it's not surprising either. Barney, who says he's surprised to see Gannon in 50th.
I'm a little surprised. I would have expected top 20.
A little bit, but at the same time, Gannon could shoot course record tomorrow.
He could
shoot himself up 37 spots, and all is right in the world again. I mean, you're right. Is it surprising to see him in 50th? Did he have a bad day? Sure. There's a lot of people that we could say probably had a slightly off day, and on the FPO side, Kat and Paige had off days. I mean, they're two of the highest rated, most decorated women in the world, and both didn't shoot phenomenal golf.
I'm not counting anybody out after today. After tomorrow, though, I'm going to start writing people off. I'm going to tell them not to show up to tee times. I'm just going to just really, what's the point of showing up if you're not going to win?
Yeah, I mean, why bother?
Yeah, so someone says, so Tristan won't be on the lead card, quote unquote, because of the pool situation.
Yes,
correct.
That is correct.
He'll be on the lead card of the other pool, and if he shoots, we'll just say an 8 to 10 down at Jones tomorrow, he will probably be on the lead card of the A pool, but that is assuming he continues his hot streak, shoots a very good round. He could come out and shoot a 1 under. You know, we saw it today.
Yeah,
plenty of people shoot up, and then he'll probably, with a 13 under, he's almost guaranteed to make the A pool. I would be surprised if he didn't, but not. There's no necessity that he's going to be on the lead card.
Certainly not.
He has to have 2 great rounds.
Ray says Grant Zellner has a tough job doing solo commentary for the 2 holes all around. It will be fun to see how it goes. I totally agree. I do not envy that. Although I think I would love the challenge someday. I don't envy that he's got to do it.
I agree. My suggestion, and I think I mentioned this last week, was to have 2 people do those. Or maybe I didn't mention it because we didn't really talk about it. I wanted to have 2 people do it, and I don't know why they didn't. Because I think talking
Manpower,
with some
budget, there's a lot of reasons.
I'm sure there could be something.
Logistics, technology. I don't know.
No, logistics and technology are not the answer because I would be asked to fix that. It could be budget, and I would like to see 2 people, because it's a lot easier to have a conversation with somebody when there's somebody else there. It's very difficult to have a conversation with somebody when they're not there.
I don't know. I talk to myself a lot.
I talk to myself, but that's not really a conversation with somebody else. So I think having 2 people there, and again, we're going to see more of this. I think Dust is going to be doing one of them in one of the future events. But I really think having 2 people should be a standard, because having one person have to fill that much time, and there's no obligation they have to fill time either. Mo even said, he's like, if you don't have anything to talk about, just say the player's name and maybe what they're throwing for and be done. I was like, oh, okay.
Bubba Watson's login at least says, pressure to got. No, I don't think that. Ray asked, is the alternate broadcast with Grant going to be free on YouTube for the final round?
No, I don't believe so. I think that is still going to be locked behind DGN. That is a DGN exclusive. And
boom.
If you want to watch the featured holes broadcast, you do need to have a DGN subscription.
There you go. Sup, everyone? Benjamin says, how you doing, Benjamin? They should have a dog do the commentary. Mo made me say it.
Mo and his
did anyone find Katrina's OB shot? We talked about that. I didn't at the time see anyone retrieve it or find it. Not to say it wasn't since then found, or maybe she went back, but no. Short answer is no. Maybe have AJ Risley on the course for the 2 holes helping out.
AJ's doing camera work already, I believe.
AJ's hustling around doing camera work. He's one of the hired camera crew members for the week, so of DGN. So if he's following third card around, it's going to be hard for him to do that. So
okay, Terry, let's wrap this up. We'll do a Patreon giveaway
I'm down.
next week. Oh, Terry, what's your? Are you going to be here next Tuesday?
Nope. I'm
I
going to
didn't
be on a
think so.
plane on a. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to Sweden, bro.
I know, bro.
I can only deal with so many weeks of you. So next week, Sweden. That's where I'll be.
Okay.
Not with you. Actually, I think I will be in the air at the exact time of the podcast. So
get internet and just do a live video broadcast from the plane.
Everybody around me would love that in the plane. How about this? I have the solution, Johnny. That's actually really clever. Here's the pitch. So I have the space and the internet required. Why don't we have Smashbox? We'll upgrade my ticket to first class for this this European flight. We'll upgrade my ticket to first class, and then I will be able to be live.
I still don't think you'll be able to, even in first class, Terry.
No, the internet's better there. Let's try it.
Really? Oh,
yes. I'll just charge the card.
I mean, that's only probably an extra $3,000, maybe $4,000.
I don't know. I think it's more than that, probably. We'll do that.
No, bro. No, bro. No,
we'll see. Just don't check the card. All right, guys, we are going to call it. I think Brody Smith also celebrated her birthday recently, so in the last couple of days. So happy birthday to him as well. I'd love to shout out our golfers. So thank you guys so much for joining us. That's been Worlds Day 1 recap, which just happens to fall on a podcast night. And yeah, someone had asked earlier, if it works out schedule-wise, you might find me in this exact same spot doing something on my channel a few of the other nights this week. As I said, the extracurriculars are the Bourbon Cowboy, Mechanical Bulls, and other things. But anything's possible. Anything's possible if I can, and if my mental and physical stamina can keep up. You might see me jump onto my channel and host some kind of a nightly recap where we break down some other things and have a traditional nightly recap. But either way, keep checking the Instagrams and following along. Of course, we know you're watching live on Disc Golf Network and the PDGA and UDisc Live and all those other awesome things. Make sure you're doing that. There's post-production. I heard there's 7 cards in all 4 divisions that are covered. So make sure you reach out to Ultra World and thank them for that insight. 5
of those are covering juniors at this event.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, make sure you follow that. We're going to close it out. Thank you to everyone. Thanks to the tournament staff, the PDGA, everyone for having us here and doing what you're doing. To make the World's experience yet another awesome one thus far. We're 1 day in, 4 days to go. Clearly, it's anybody's game on both sides, and I think it's going to be exciting. We may see our second European ever FPO competitor take it down, but could be Kristen, could be Evelina, could be Henna, Katie Tati, could be anybody. Heyday Line, anyone.
All right, Terry, before we go, final round, how many Europeans on the card?
2.
All right.
This is going to be 2. How many do you think? 5. Say 5.
0. Just kidding.
Okay.
2's an easy guess.
Wow.
So just to be different, I'm going to go with 3.
Oh, you would. Wow, that is a bold move. I'm going to check the UDisc predictions on that. That's definitely a bold move. All right, guys, Ray, everyone else out there, all of our Smashies, all our Patreon subscribers and supporters, we love and appreciate you. And thank you guys for joining us. We've got a super Smashy. Ryan Pilcher's been here working on some more edits, and appreciate the heck out of him. So we'll see you guys the rest of the week. We'll be live tomorrow for FPO action, and then MPO in the afternoon. We'll be coming to you from the Emporia Country Club. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. That's been Podcast 418's After Show. We'll see you next time when you step inside the Smash Box.